Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my Madam Iron.
Well, folks, we've been working hard on this week's episode, and I really don't have anything funny to say to start out. How about you, Nick?
A lot of serious stuff this week.
Yeah.
A lot of serious
Business.
stuff.
A lot of business.
Lots of business-related stuff this week. Matter of fact, Jesus, I would almost say it's almost exclusively business stuff. So, welcome to Strictly Business with Nick and Myron. It's what it kind of feels like. Yeah, man, it's like business-related stuff. I mean, look, there's TV rights, releases, signings, streaming deal conversations, massive news on a PLE that's upcoming, all of that and more. But before we get started, Myron, let's make sure we always plug our home over on YouTube, youtube.com. Yeah, the handle, because, they have handles now. Tapped Out Pod, everything is in our brand is Tapped Out Pod. So whether it's a social media, way to find us, or you Tapped Out Pod's the handle for YouTube, etc. I mean, hell, even our emails, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. It's consistency and branding is a good thing, but look, go over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the channel, turn your notifications on, because that way every single week when we drop the show, you'll get it. Hell, you can even become a member there or on our Patreon page, patreon.com, Tapped Out Pod. And you can become a member there, get the show early, and get all the exclusive articles. Not even all wrestling related these days. Some sports, some movies, some video games, comic books, all that stuff over there. Behind the paywall on Patreon and on YouTube. So pick up all that stuff soon. I got a good one that I got this morning that I was kind of like, ooh, I like that one. So.
Nick, I think keeping up with social media stuff like YouTube has got to be the hardest thing about doing something like this. Just the new rules, and apparently there's been a big bunch of changes at Instagram. That's why I follow Brittany Houghton. I'll have to post her links again. Somebody who's able to keep up with that stuff is invaluable if you're an independent wrestler, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You got to check her out, folks.
Well, big news for the week, man. Look, and we're going to try to do this quasi in order. So the unfortunate thing about releasing an episode midweek, we recorded on Wednesday, and that's why our YouTube members and our Patreon members got it on Wednesday. And then we released it Thursday morning. By the way, I'll throw in this tidbit. The reason why you want to subscribe, it's always up by 10 o'clock, but sometimes your boys got stuff to do, and I just go ahead and do it before I leave. I release even on YouTube, it might be 8:30, 9:40, but it's always before 10. But if you got those notifications turned on, you'll know exactly when I upload it. So
you're an early riser.
I'm a very early riser, usually about 6:15, usually.
Yeah. Dude, where were we last Thursday after the show released?
We were having we weren't having a party. There was a party, a going away party for our buddy Garrett Sakahara. So down at DDPY, the Performance Center, and it was a blast, dude. Got to see a bunch of people. The SHW Pod team was there. Lots of talents were there. Got to see Carly Bravo. Got to see AC Mack was in the house. Danny Jordan was there. Nathan Mowry. So a lot of people, lots of friends of the show. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, that was kind of how we spent Thursday after the show.
Saw DDP, saw Jake the Snake Roberts. Spent a lot of time talking to Neil Pruitt. Mm-hmm. I sometimes forget what started out as two fat guys in their basements have turned into two fat guys in their basements that know a lot of wonderful people. And thank you, guys.
Neil Pruitt's good people. Always a big, he's a great friend of the show, man. We love him to death for sure. But now look, let's dive. Look, we're tired of, we got a whole lot of stuff to dive into. So let's, don't hesitate anymore. The big news, obviously, last week at the end of the week, kind of in chronological order here, was NBC Universal has re-signed SmackDown to go back to the USA Network. 5 years, $1.4 billion, 40% increase over the current contract they had with Fox.
$1 billion. Oh.
Yeah. So
that's a lot of money.
Let's start with, my first question was it really NBCU taking it from Fox? Was Fox letting it go? Because look, basically the word had gotten out at this point that Fox didn't really see the ROI they had hoped for. Ad rates are a little bit less for the wrestling product. With the viewership they were getting, they just weren't kind of really getting the return of investment. I don't think they just weren't as happy. Like, it's one of those, like, it wasn't like Raw or it wasn't like SmackDown was horrible for them. It just was. I think they would have liked to have had it if the price was a little bit lower and probably more reasonable for them.
Definitely. The Writers Guild strike is coming to end. The Screen Actors Guild strike is still in place. Wrestling is a great way to hedge your bets in case there's a problem like that in the future, because not only are wrestlers, hell, aren't even employees; they're independent contractors. So you've always got content there. These people work. They have to work in any situation. Wrestling always generates content 52 weeks a year, so it's more consistent than a sport for a lower price. So you may get lower ratings, but there's above average chance that on Friday night, it's the number one program that you have. It's the number one program on any network.
So it's not always. So in the demo, that is generally the case if you're going to get specifics. Now, I do feel like SmackDown, going back to USA, I think it will consistently and easily be, for the most part, the number one show on cable. The problem was on Fox, it wasn't on cable. It was even in the ratings battles, it was against network television shows, and sometimes that was problematic. Although in the demo they would win. So the question obviously becomes, now that you get SmackDown back, Raw and NXT have not been, renewed yet. So the question becomes, I think the theory might have been, if we're going to lose one, by the way, I'm on the record, I don't think they lose Raw or NXT, but we'll come back to that in a second. If you were going to lose one, or only have possession of one, maybe is the better phrase.
Yeah, you have all three. But the one that was up for bid first was SmackDown. So in case you lost Raw and NXT, you went ahead and bought SmackDown and secured the fact you would have a wrestling product, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're going. I mean, obviously they've got SmackDown
on a night where there's no NFL football, typically, like not a Monday night game. I know they still run. Who runs Friday nights?
Nobody.
But I know there's a Thursday night game, right, on Amazon.
Thursday night is on Amazon Prime Video.
So there's no Friday night game. So there's typically not competition against that. Right. Monday on Raw, you have to run against Monday Night Football. The ratings are inconsistent. The Friday night ratings are always better anyway. So if you lose
hold on. That's not a fair comparison though. When you say SmackDown ratings are a better number, it's because it's on Fox. My honest truth, when they move to USA, I think you're going to get Raw numbers. You're not going to get SmackDown on Fox numbers. I think you're going to be around 1.8, 1.9, 2 on a great night, and you might cross over that 2 threshold. The difference is that's a great number for USA on cable. It's not a great number even at 2.5 on Fox. So that's your defining line. But the plus would be, if you're telling me I get SmackDown 52 weeks a year and I'm going to be somewhere between 1.8 and 2, 52. Now, look, I get it. Things are going to change. That shit will happen. But on average, you can go, I'm going to bank on, let's say, 48 of those 52 weeks. Yeah. I'm going to have between that number, and it's pretty consistent, versus I'm going to get that for 32 weeks on Mondays. And then, about 20 weeks, literally think about it. We discussed this last week. Monday Night Raw went from 1.8, 1.9s to 1.3s when Monday Night Football kicked off.
And it's a 3-hour program, too. So isn't it going to cost more to buy the rights to?
No, actually the problem was the SmackDown TV rights were a bigger deal than the Raw TV rights were the first go around. So I am eager, and that's what I think's the kicker. I'm eager to see, let's go ahead and jump it, because the other part we were just talking about is if somebody else gets Raw, let's say, I know other TV things are involved. By the way, before we move off of the SmackDown full-fledged, it also basically, look, I'm going to call it going forward until they give it a name, they're gonna, it's gonna be a main event in primetime show on NBC, the network channel. They get 4 of those a year as well, in this package deal that they're getting with the SmackDown. So that's kind of more content. Also, hence is why I think the price is higher.
Brilliant.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate that. That's a cool thing to have in there. But the question becomes, what does Raw get TV wise? Like, do you take the same amount for Raw and NXT? I think, by the way, NXT is going to push for more because the timing was impeccable for them to have their ratings push.
And bring all stars back. Yeah. Bring Dominic Mysterio to your pay-per-view. Bring Becky Lynch back to take the women's title. Yeah. Bring these people back to augment ratings, and then renegotiate your contract.
Correct.
They know what they're doing.
Which is also, that's kind of why. So I still think they're going to keep them. That's just my, if NBC, Universal, USA specifically, the network keeps Monday Night Raw, I don't think we see any changes. NXT, I think everything will stay in place. However, let's say someone else takes Prime Video, for example, has been brought up. Are we used to seeing a regularly weekly show of pro wrestling to air live? Look, they do Thursday Night Football, so it's not like they can't handle it. But are we ready to see Raw live streaming on Prime Video versus being on a TV channel? Because here's the thing. At that point, ratings don't mean shit. They're taking their check just like they did with Peacock. By the way, they've re-upped with Peacock, by the way.
Well, they did re-up with Peacock.
There's some of that's in the extension. They've extended it as well. So
that's a good deal for them, for Peacock especially.
Yeah.
Because it's content that you don't, that's a solid deal in my opinion.
But by the way, that's part of why I don't think they're losing Raw and NXT. I think they're going all in.
But do you think they're going to move Raw? Do you think they're going to make it a 2 hours?
So here's my thing. I don't think if NBCU, Universal, if they keep it and it stays on USA, I don't think anything changes. If another network picks up Raw specifically, because listen, I'm not even saying USA doesn't keep NXT and they just lose Raw. Like, what if Prime Video threw enough money at them that they're like, hey, we'll give them Raw. USA throws enough of a bid that they keep NXT. So then NXT and SmackDown are the products on USA and Raw somewhere else, kind of like the current model is with SmackDown being elsewhere with those two. Here's my thing. If they somehow, some way, Raw and SmackDown specifically, NXT, by the way, I hate to tell you this, isn't the priority, and this is what I'm about to say. If they end up on separate networks, I do see the potential that Raw is not on Mondays. Potential being the keyword. Because if another network takes it, they may look at it. USA has an affinity that it's every Monday, WWE Monday Night Raw. It's a staple for USA Network. Prime Video, 30 years. 30 years.
Wow.
Prime Video doesn't give a fuck what night Raw is on.
With Prime Video, it's a whole different idea. It's a value adder package, not value added package is probably the right way to put it for Prime. It's another reason to get Prime to watch wrestling. It's not a reason to tune into a network for ads. It's a reason to buy Prime to be able to tune into wrestling. How many people would you get as Prime subscribers the same way they did with the NFL? Are we going to get commercials on Prime like we did on Raw? Are we going to get a 3-hour program with no commercials?
No, you will get commercial. By the way, there's the next caveat. I think if you go to, well, it doesn't hurt. Depending on how much they paid, by the way, because you do get commercials in the football game.
Okay. So I do sell
it. Yeah. I watch it every Thursday, and you have commercials on there. So they're going to have commercials on there, which is fine. I think they could stay for 3 hours and it wouldn't matter. If you were to move Monday Night Raw, like let's say if it even went to, I don't know, insert random channel, FX. There was talks of SmackDown ended up on FX. They don't have an affinity, by the way. They don't give a shit that it was Monday Night Raw. They may say, fuck it, we want it on Tuesdays. Well, then the dominoes start to fall. Because if WWE says, hey, they're going to sell the rights to Raw. They're going to move it to Tuesday because they don't want to compete with Monday Night Football anymore. They don't want the inconsistency with the ratings. They want a consistency. Well, then NXT's on Tuesdays on, you know, if they kept it on USA, or if the new suitor took, you know, I mean, it steamrolls into, hey, let's put Raw on Tuesday, NXT moves to Wednesday. Yeah, that's what I said. Or if you don't want to go head to head, move one of the shows, like move Raw to Tuesday, NXT to Thursday, Friday, SmackDown stays on, whatever. A million different things that could have possibly happened. I would love to know if it ends up on separate brands and the nights got moved around. Because hell, who's to say, what if they move SmackDown to another night? That hasn't even been confirmed, as far as I know, that it is going to be Friday Night SmackDown.
Well, how many times have they moved SmackDown?
It's moved. It was Tuesdays, Thursdays. I mean, it's been Fridays, so it's all over the place.
And it's been on FX before, hasn't it?
It was on CW, UPN, USA, and Fox, I believe, were the channels that it's been on.
Okay.
CW, UPN, technically, you could argue were the same because it was a merger, but whatever.
But all these business deals, all this money, all this TKO merger, what's the weak link in all this? Where could we possibly go wrong?
I tell you the one that it's not. I got one more thing before we move on. There is the rumors if they do lose Raw, would they move SmackDown to 3 hours to make up for the fact that Raw's gone? And that answer's 100% yes. That's just my take. Look, if you lost Raw and it was over on another channel, why would you not?
I love wrestling, but the 3-hour show on television, I don't need another one.
Channel don't give two fucks what you think about how much wrestling's too much wrestling. Their argument is, we want a third hour, we'll pay you for it. By the way, it's probably in a contingency that if they lose Raw, when they made this $1.4 billion deal, it was probably in there that says, if we lose Raw, we get 3 hours. Anybody with half a brain would have negotiated that into the contract. If we don't get to keep Raw and NXT, we want SmackDown to be 3 hours. Or if we even lost one of those two, we want it to be 3 hours. And they'll get it. So, now to address your question. You know, one of the big things that came out of the whole merger and the stocks and everything, you know, there was an SEC filing. When I got the email from, you know, I don't like saying the company's name because I don't particularly love the company that handles it. I can't even get into why it's there. But anyway, I got the email from the company who handles my TKO stock now. And it was, you know, there was an SEC filing. And one of the things that was filed was that good old VKM, he got an exception that he could sell his stock immediately. At first, I thought, oh, shit, it's a big deal. But then it kind of made sense. You know, Endeavor put out a press release. Essentially, I'm going to translate it down. Vince is a high risk to be on the board, and he's a high risk person to have in the company because of all of the legal shit he's got going on. They need to have a position to where they could look at Vince and say, you need to cash the fuck out and go away.
It's not a bad decision. It's not a bad decision at all. I mean, it was good to bring him in as a figurehead and as somebody who had a shit ton of stock to make all this deal go through and to make the deal accepted by stockholders, make the deal accepted by, you know, if Vince did it instead of Stephanie or Triple H or Nick Khan, it looks better.
He's the only one. By the way, Nick Khan does make this deal happen, just I think with the assistance of Vince.
Vince just has to sign it. Okay, that's all he has to do, and then he has to, as a major stockholder, he just needs to fade away now.
Yeah, we'll call him a major stockholder. At the time I was taking the notes and stuff, he had $3 billion worth of stock. So if he sold out, Vince would get $3 billion for all of his shares of stock to go away. Now, I don't know that he would be forced to completely. I think he would be forced to sell enough that it would be kind of out of sight, out of mind Vince kind of thing. Look, we don't know where this legal shit's going.
I really wish my brother would talk about wrestling because my brother does IPOs and stuff like that. He's an attorney. He's done very well for himself in Atlanta. Will not talk about wrestling. I think he would find this one fascinating though, because it's very interesting from any standpoint, especially with entertainment law, don't you think?
100%. Yeah. I have an attorney buddy, a friend of the show, that I have conversations about this kind of shit all the time. It's just it's a hoot for me. Look, and what I did find out, obviously, this is not an abnormal thing for this type of exception to be filed. So I was
golden
kind of
parachute.
It.
No, that's not a golden parachute.
It's essentially. It's a great way to get him out of the situation for sure. So
because you don't know when he's going to get a golden shower or something like that, and you got to get rid of him.
Yeah, the hush money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But look, I just thought that was a cool aspect story of it. So before now, look, man, there are some of the good news of the week, and that is, that Elimination Chamber is coming. It is to Australia, Perth, Australia, right prior to, it's between Rumble and Mania next year. At first, it was kind of like, oh, they're going to do a big arena, a big stadium show. Think about this. This was a cool selling point. I think, did I send you this little thing where it was like Rumble, Chamber, Mania?
Yeah.
3 straight stadium shows.
Mm-hmm. Big stadium shows. Yeah, not like little stuff. We're talking about massive, like Mania style stadium shows. That's impressive. If we're going to talk about selling 80,000 tickets in Australia.
Yeah. Listen, that was big news that came out later in the week. That 80,000 people look, I guess this is a new trend. I know when my daughter was trying to get Taylor Swift tickets, you basically have to sign up for, register to get into the pre-sale to attempt to buy tickets. I'm like, okay, whatever happened to anyway. So
in line.
I think
going to Turtles
and buying your tickets. Yeah, go Turtles. There's a throwback. So the show's going to do phenomenal. And I think the lesson to be learned here is a couple things. I made a joke a while back, and I think it was in a group. I don't think I put a post, but I think it was in a group that we're in. I think the day's coming where maybe up to half, if not more, of the WWE PLEs are not in the United States.
Oh. That might be the whole, they just patented the term global localization. Does that mean we're coming to your town? We're going to bring you wrestling. Okay. There are wrestling fans in other countries that we haven't tapped into this market. These people will hungrily come to these pay-per-views, and we're going to have them in buildings that don't hold 20,000 people. We're going to have them in buildings that hold 80,000 people.
Right.
And we're going to bring out and give these fans something they've wanted for years. Put them in places where they're going to hold 80,000 people and localize it globally. I mean, everybody was focusing on the fact that they were, trademarking new names for Jade Cargill, but all they snuck that one in, global localization. Now, does that mean performance centers everywhere? I think you're right on this. I think this means we're going to come to you and bring you wrestling with these giant shows all over the world and make you people that are untapped markets.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant.
We talked about the London. Then we talk about Australia. Then we talk about the Saudi shows. And then we just start spreading it out all over the place and run these shows. And if you hit them, here's the thing. Hit them with big shows, important shows. If you can have, which by the way, this is so hard because all these topics are going to bleed together is the issue. There's rumors of The Rock, coming to Elimination Chamber. There is confirmation that Taker's going to be there doing something, not wrestling probably, but the one-man show will probably be there, somewhere around it, that type of stuff.
Hype, put him on a poster, just put him on the internet, hype. Yeah, good job.
If you give those people stars to come out and see, they will come. If you tell me Rock's going to be at Elimination Chamber, they will max out that building. I don't know what that number is.
Well, they're already trying to max it out with no Rock announcement. Okay.
Yeah, but they sure as hell didn't mind that rumor leaked out that they were trying to make it happen.
No, it didn't hurt at all. But think about it, Nick. This pay-per-view is going to be at 6 a.m. here.
So we're going to address, and I think here's the why to that. We're going to address streaming a little bit later in the show too, but the part I do want to talk about here, we have multiple times on the show, I mean more times than we can count, talk about how we just DVR wrestling, we watch it when we can, when we have time. The streaming world is like, you don't have to this day, I will tell you, if you can avoid Twitter, social media in general, which I can easily pull off, I will tell you, the only thing, and we probably talked about this last week. Hell, I can't remember. They all bleed together.
We've done this.
The only thing that I have to watch live is sports. Like a football game, baseball game I don't watch often, but if I were watching one, it'd have to be live. Basketball, same thing. Because here's the thing with sports: once I see the score, I don't need to see the game.
Well, you know how many times have we been at a wrestling event and we've sat there and checked box scores on football games? I mean, I don't even need to watch the game because once I've checked the box scores enough, I'm done. I'm not going to go back and watch it.
My point is though, if you have the availability, like on Monday nights, people laugh all the time at me that I tell them, I don't watch Raw on Monday nights.
I watch it on Tuesday nights or Tuesday morning.
If there's a good game on. If the game goes to shit, I'll flip it over. This Monday's games went to shit real quick. So I was like, because here's the thing, that Bengals game ended up being a close game, but it was the drizzling shits to watch. So I moved on and went back to flip over to watch Raw. Point being, the streaming society that we are, I don't think it matters that this thing's happening at 6 a.m. What's going to happen if you wake up at 10 or 11? The problem is the damn thing still might be going, so you're only going to catch when you jump in. But Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, whatever, put the Peacock on, turn it on, start watching the damn thing.
Well, I mean, how many actual PLEs do we ever get to watch anyway? Because we're at indie shows. Because hell, half the time most indie shows are booked while a PLE is going.
Mm-hmm.
So we come home and watch it the day after. That was the best thing about moving recording dates. It says we'd go to an indie show. Well, a PLE was running. We'd have to come home from the indie show, try to get the PLE in, and then record a show the next day, half-ass knowing what the hell we were talking about.
So
because we'd have to, it was a huge pain. So it's going to give you streaming gives you a chance to catch up, watch it when you want to, watch it when you can.
The punchline, the point was having shows all over the world. I think that the WWE mentality could just be, it's not the end all be all of the American, crowd watching it live. If they want to watch it live, you're no better than our Australian town. Like, think about that. When we run a PLE here in the United States, what fucking time is it there that they have to watch it? It's very similar. When they run shows, Raw and SmackDown and shit, if they try to watch that in the UK, they're up until the wee hours of the morning, or they have to wake up early the next day. Here's the thing. They, I believe, are learning that the international market can be just as valuable as the U.S. market. So let's cater to them and take care of them as well. The American fans are so streaming, culturally now. Stream it on Peacock when you get a chance.
Last night, for the first time, I actually caught Ahsoka when it came on at 9:00. And that was the weirdest thing ever, because I was just sitting here and I'm like, well, hell, because usually I didn't watch it till 10 or 11 when I was, done watching NXT or whatever, but I was just sitting there at 9:00. I said, I'll just turn this on and watch it. Does that ever happen when a streaming show comes out? No. I just watch it when I can, not when it comes out, because I don't like live TV. I just don't. I don't like commercials. I don't like sitting here. I have that American ADHD or whatever you want to call it, where I can't sit still. I got to fidget with something. Everything's in front of me. It's hard to keep up, and so
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I just think that their whole take is that simple that, like, well, you can binge watch it, you could, or not binge watch, you can stream it when you wake up, when you go to sleep, whatever you fuck you want to do, because that's just what we do anyway.
Yep.
So, speaking of not liking commercials, Myron, you're not a big fan of commercials. Before we move on, I'm gonna give you a commercial. We're gonna talk about everybody. Look, because look, you might miss something on Saturday, because our recommendation is this Saturday, the 30th, where you need to be, Myron.
Canacon.
Hey, Augusta, have you heard the big news? September 30th, Canacon is coming right there to 90 Millage Road, right there in Augusta. That's right. That's the American Legion, Post 63, right down the road. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's part of the big chunk of the festivities. Don't forget, however, at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., live concert will be by Radio Cult right there in the building as well. What's going on this year? Great stuff, including for the first time ever in Georgia. Do you remember the crazy movie back when we were kids, Maximum Overdrive? The Green Goblin head that was there, right there on the 18-wheeler, will be for the first time ever. It will be there. Yes, the original prop from the movie will be right there at Canacon. Also, look, Canacon is really famous for its cosplay championship, and for the first time ever, they're going to take it to a whole nother level. Not only will second and third place get trophies, first place will be crowned with the Canacon Cosplay Championship belt. That's right, championship belt for for the big winner. But hey, look, don't worry about it. Look, the kids are also they're not going to be left out. They got a cosplay specifically for the kids, and they will have a champion as well. And for the first time ever, there will be a Fans Choice Award, like a Fans Choice Prize. So you, the fans, will actually determine one of the winners as well. Special guests are Radio Cult, Kelly Graham, Randall Bishop, Specs Thomas, and many, many more. All of that's going down right there at Canacon, September 30th, 90 Millage Road, Augusta, Georgia. That's right there at the American Legion. You definitely don't want to miss out. Canacon 2023 is coming to Augusta, Georgia. That's right, man. Ooh. We are finally here this weekend.
Yes, it's time, folks.
Yeah, make sure you're heading out, cosplay, all kinds of stuff, comic vendors, and all kinds of stuff. Titties. Even a panel or two, from what I hear, is going to be there. So, be some fun
James
stuff.
Caleb Kitchens is going to talk to me about dungeon mastering.
Yeah.
And girls with fairy ears.
He'll teach you lots of stuff, Myron. You should pay attention.
And dressing up like Wario.
He's not. I wonder if he's going to dress up as Wario while he does
and falsifying wrestling numbers.
Don't even, man. Don't even start.
I'm just messing with you, James. I had to throw that one in there with your Jesus shoes. Man, I love you. I just had to. I'm sorry. Oh, Nick, have you seen the new Georgia Wrestling History site? It looks terrific. I just wanted to throw that one in there also.
Well, hit that note at the end, because I want you to explain some of it a little bit. Because we got a ton of shit still to go through. That's the problem. Okay. We got so much shit that we're through. Number one, look, now we're going to come to the hard part, the meat of the conversation that everybody was, harping on
all week
long.
Oh God.
I'm going to walk up. This is a hard line to walk, by the way, because it's bad when people lose their jobs.
It's horrible.
I hate it when people won. I hate when people make fun that people lost jobs. I hate when people also, by the other side, don't understand that, it does happen, especially in this business. People get released all the time. Look, I thought it was kind of was it in poor taste that they announced this mega deal with SmackDown and then they released 20 guys? Okay, yes. The problem in this whole theory was Endeavor looked at ledgers, and they're like, okay, WWE's right there when it comes to revenue generated, but it's half as profitable as UFC. We got to trim some fat.
I don't even think that had anything to do with it.
I think it had everything to do with it.
No, I think this is a yearly thing WWE does. This thing is done. I looked at it. People like Emma and a couple others, Shelton Benjamin, they've been released before. This happens about the same time every year.
But it typically happens after Mania. You're in the wrong part of the year for that argument.
I don't know if I'm in the yes, probably in the wrong part of the year, but it doesn't mean it's not it's happening because of TKO just because TKO got involved in it. Boy, I just think it's a normal thing.
Here's my case for why I think it's total. I think it's a total look, and it doesn't make it any better or worse in my opinion. It's a total ROI argument because lots of the talents weren't being used, and I'm not talking about properly. I mean, period.
Well, there were a huge amount of people that were brought in as college athletes that had never had a match.
Yeah.
And that is totally understandable. I mean, they had to get rid of Great Value RVD because Riddle was becoming a serious embarrassment and a serious problem down the road.
So I will make the argument his release is kind of, to me, separated from that group. I don't think they go hand in hand. That was hey, we just got to cut loose on this kid for whatever reason. I'm not saying they should have or they shouldn't have. That's the decision I think that was made. The mass releases as a whole, I feel like there's we don't think we're getting, out of them. And listen, I'm not even saying they were blaming the talent. It could be we aren't using them enough to to justify paying them this money. Most of the name, and I get it. Look, by the way, man, there were so many, and it was funny. I can't even remember the wrestler that I saw posted this on Twitter, and it was they were all of a sudden so many Elias and Emma and Rick Boogs fans, and that came out of the woodwork, and I'm like, were you buying their shirts?
Yeah, one thing. I was going to say something really shitty about, and I just didn't want to piss off everybody, but I was going to say, if you're complaining about these people releases, take a picture of you and their merchandise and post it. Okay, seriously. I love Dolph Ziggler, but I really do think Dolph Ziggler was off doing his little comedy and whatever else he was doing. He may have been cool with being released.
Okay, so I'm gonna come back to him because I think there's something. I have a hot take for Dolph Ziggler.
But if we break it all down,
well, hold on. Mustafa Ali asked to be released apparently. So stop saying they released him, blah blah blah. He
was a loss in my opinion. I think he was somebody that they could use for their international marketing and wrestle in other countries. He was a loss.
He deserved better. He should be. Look, there's only so many places at the top. We've screamed this until we're top. Just blue in the face. Look, maybe he'll go off. Maybe he'll get signed at AEW. Something, we'll see. Shelton Benjamin,
yes,
was market corrected by the Street Profits. Them going into the group with Hurt Business, I don't agree with this 100%. I feel like the argument was we don't need Shelton if we have the Street Profits in there. And then I think there's more to come, by the way.
Worst gimmick ever. I really think the Street Profits, the worst gimmick ever. Two fairly talented guys.
Well, I don't know about that now. They're changing it. That's what I'm saying. Going into the Hurt Business, that's completely being repackaged.
It's a talent. It's a gimmick reassessment, and they're changing it to something that can work. I hope it does. Shelton is somebody that should be training in NXT. He should be higher in the company, but not as a wrestling talent. He should be doing something else. I think he's qualified. TV.
I think he makes anybody look like $1 million, which brings us to Dolph Ziggler. Here's my problem, and it's not a problem, by the way. Here's what I think happened. A couple years ago, Dolph wanted to leave. Dolph wanted to go off and become an actor, do his comedy stuff, which, by the way, he's really good at. WWE talked him into staying. They wanted to use him. Paid him a ridiculous amount of money, $1.5 million per year, is the word on the street. Let him kind of, by the way, get away with stuff like Dolph hitting that. When he was on Raw, didn't have to stay the whole time. When he was done, if he was done, and he could book a comedy thing, he could leave and go do his comedy thing. So whatever. I think this is why it's an ROI thing. $1.5 million, and they openly would probably tell you they weren't effectively using him enough to justify the $1.5 million per year. So I think with Dolph Ziggler, they just kind of came to, look, we don't think we're getting $1.5 million out of you. We're going to release you, And then immediately the rumors started, like, don't be shocked if you see some of these guys re-signing back. And I would say he's gonna be one that they bring to the table and try to bring him back.
So this is a renegotiation move. Release him from this contract and get them to renegotiate their new contract.
And listen, that's what I think is going to happen. I don't know that Dolph wants to do it. The beauty that Dolph has, he's done okay with his money. He's, I think I looked up his net worth was like $3 million. So he's got a little value there that he could, I think he could go to AEW because his brother's there and he could have some great matches or whatever. But let me ask you a question. If Dolph Ziggler goes to AEW and they don't make him the champion, did they use him any better? The argument for me would be no.
This concept of use better is the worst fucking opinionated concept ever. It means nothing. It's someone in their mother's bedroom evaluating shit, and it's insane. Okay,
I mean, it could be worse. It could be a fat guy in his basement doing it. I mean,
yeah, no. We're a rank above. We are rank above 15-year-old child jacking off in their upstairs bedroom. Okay, you can't quantify this. This is not a score. This is not even a mark on a WB wrestling game. Okay, this is something somebody just dreams up and say they're not being used correctly. This is the stupidest thing, in my opinion, about how these guys are judged, and it means nothing. It's an opinion.
Listen, I think Dolph Ziggler's a smart man. He took $1.5 million to get a lot of flexibility.
Take your money and run.
Go off and still get to do it. So
take the money and run.
If I were a betting man, if I were Dolph, I wouldn't wrestle anywhere for a while. I'd go off and try some acting. I'd go off, let your body heal up, do a little acting, do a little comedy. And you know why? That buzz will build. It'll probably get you a better deal on the back end anyway.
Are they going to remake Miami Vice? Because he should be Sonny Crockett. He should live on a really nice boat with a fucking alligator. Yeah. That's what I'd want to do. And play Phil Collins songs while I drove around in my car.
So the craziest take that a lot of people think is crazy, and I think it's 100% accurate, that came out of the entire releases is Rick Boogs basically puts it out there that if Vince McMahon was still in power, he'd still have a job and he wouldn't have been one of the releases. And I'm like, that's fair. I could actually understand that actually makes some sense to me.
Well, if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. I get it, but Vince is not in control anymore.
People are like, oh, you're an idiot, talking about how no, you deserve to be fired, whatever. Of course,
but he's right. He's right, but it doesn't matter that he's right.
Look, because would anybody know that Vince McMahon was a big fan of his than him? Like, he would know if Vince was a big fan. I'm sure Vince would have let him know.
Yes, and I'm not disputing the fact Vince was a big fan. What I'm disputing is the fact that it matters. Because Vince is not even in control anymore. Right.
He said, listen, Meyer, he said, if Vince was still in charge, I would still have a job. That's the take. The take's not, I should have a job, blah, blah, blah. No, his take was, if Vince was still in charge, I'd still have a job.
Okay, fair enough.
And I would say, hey, he would know if Vince was a fan of his. So if Vince was a big fan of his, because, hell, when he showed up on TV playing a guitar for Nakamura, we're all like, what the fuck's he doing on playing a guitar for Nakamura?
He's an attitude era guy. He looks like an attitude era guy.
I think he's just an entertaining. I think he's done some content for online, and he's so I get it. Vince was a fan, and Vince so it's not it's everybody's like, oh, hot take, and no, it's probably accurate. He probably just put it out there.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when back when Vince's opinion was the only opinion that mattered. He probably could have got over.
Yeah, could be. Now listen, I will tell you somebody. I don't give a shit who's in charge. And I'm going to put some disclaimers in here, by the way, because Jade Cargill officially signs with WWE. By the way, where'd they announce that shit at, Myron?
ESPN. What the hell? Okay, that's an acceptance. I mean, I know ESPN is owned by people who are tied to the wrestling business. Who owns that?
Disney.
Okay. And Disney, whatever. I don't understand all the inner machinings. But ESPN, Nick,
yeah,
the world leader in sports, the legitimate sports news site, probably the most respected of all sports reporters.
You throw that respected around pretty loosely, but go ahead.
I'm a wrestling fan, Nick. Okay,
Yeah.
I can talk. Being a wrestling fan, I can talk freely about politics or anything else, and just know it's all kayfabe.
Yeah.
Okay, it's being a wrestling fan has made my look on the world a lot better because I understand everybody's full of shit. But ESPN announcing this is a pretty big deal. It's
100% agree with you. That was the major plus. Now becomes the controversial, like, Bully Ray puts it out there, by the way, on Busted Open. He makes the comment, they are going to make her the mega star that she is. They are going to just skyrocket. She will fulfill all of her potential in WWE, which, by the way, your boy wholeheartedly agrees with the disclaimer that I will be the first to tell you, I don't think she's anywhere ready to be in the ring with some of the, like
Charlotte,
the Charlottes and the Reyes and the Beckys, and so forth and so on, the Baileys, etc. The difference being, Bully pulls out something that I said a long time ago. Use her like China. Make her a force to be reckoned with. Make her a star. Don't attempt to try to teach her to get in there and be the world's greatest wrestler, like technically. And if anybody knows anything, that's one thing they don't mind doing in the least. The benefit she's going to have there, could AEW have made her a star? Yes. I think they did a pretty good job of it, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know her background. Was she trained by anybody professional? Has she been in a wrestling program? I mean, I just thought they just gave her a belt and gave her a huge reign just out of the blue.
They put a belt on her, turned it into her female Goldberg, and she ran through everybody. That's essentially what I always joke with her and say that's what they did with her in AEW. I'm not even saying that's wrong. That's the crazy thing.
I don't think the believability factor is she can come out and beat Rhea Ripley or contend. You can't tell me she can contend with Charlotte. Now, if you
make her a badass where she's just brutally, goes in there and physically imposes her will on people, that might be a different argument.
Ripley's already done that.
Well,
okay. I just think you've got to train her and get her ready to work the WWE style.
We keep hearing like, well, what if they make Bianca join, the Hurt Business or whatever? What if it's Jade? I wouldn't do it, by the way. But what if it was? She's the China of the Hurt Business. Could happen. The difference is WWE's going to make her a megastar by simple things like, I don't know, having her announcement that she signed on ESPN. Everybody's going to see a picture of, her posing or whatever on ESPN and go, geez, she looks like a superstar. And they're going to start. Look, that's the thing. People think that you have to discredit everything AEW did for her by saying we think WWE's going to take her even further. People have to wrap their heads around the fact now that WWE is merged into a company that has a talent agency. They can affect you getting TV shows, movies, at legitimate sports coverage, all of that type of stuff. So there's more. I think she has if she wants to be the megastar and she wants to get in to do other things other than wrestling, she had to go.
Well, yeah, it's a business decision. It's a bit, and if you're not, she looks like a wrestler. She walks like a wrestler. Her statement about coming in and beating Nia Jax and Charlotte and Ripley sounds like a wrestler. I just think maybe she needs a little bit more polish.
She needs a ton more polish. And that's the thing. People are like, oh, they said when she was in AEW she needed a lot of work, but now that she signed with WWE that they're like fan. No, she still needs a lot of work. If it were me, I'd put her in NXT, either in the Performance Center, by the way, or in NXT. I'd have her dominate that brand for probably a year or two. And then next thing you know, when she's ready, move her up. You know why I do that, by the way? Because if you take her up to the main roster now, There's Becky. There's Charlotte. I know Charlotte's a wit, but you know what I'm saying. There's Becky. There's Charlotte. There's Rhea. There's Bianca. You're crowding that house, and then everybody's going to go, man, they're not using her any better. She's not using her right. It's just crowded at the top. So by the way, I'm guessing in a few years, somebody in that circle may phase on. They might quit. They retire. Might have a baby. Whatever.
They take time off. And like you said, with women wrestlers, there's always a chance. Look at Carmella. There's always Becky had gone out due to pregnancy. There's always a chance you need to hedge your bets. Correct. NXT was full of female talent, full of developing female talent, and they thinned the roster down. Okay,
that sure as hell boost your freaking. You put her on NXT. Tell the USA, hey, by the way, we're going to put her in NXT, and she's going to be there for like a year or two.
Well, there's your massive negotiation point right there.
Sign me up.
You put her on ESPN. You put her on NXT. You got this massive bargaining chip, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. So good signing. I do think they have all the potential in the world, but I think there's a lot of work to be done there. Speaking of working it, man. Before we get into the last couple topics, I want to bring up one of our favorite parts of the show, Myron, the Pro Wrestling T-shirt of the week. I went digging into the well, and I pulled out. I figured you'd like the old Crown Royal parody there. Yeah. Xavier Reyes, the exotic import. Currently part of JBE and all over, by the way. I think there's a potential we might see him this Saturday at a show.
Yeah.
So Xavier Reyes, the exotic import. I dig the look. It's the kind of, like I said, the Crown Royal parody. Is that the word I'm looking for? But check it out. Pro Wrestling Tees, the theme of it. Yeah. Pro Wrestling Tees. Go over there, look him up. Xavier Reyes. While you're there, pick up one of ours, pick up one of his, several others, especially if you need to go back in our history and our log and see of all the ones that we've put out, and grab them while you're there, man.
One thing I got to tell you about Pro Wrestling Tees, and I know I gush about them all the time, is being a big guy. They're the only wrestling shirts that I have. As far as now, the local guys make really good shirts, but you can't order them from anywhere in the country. Like the shirts, the grappler shirts and stuff I got are excellent.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Myron. I was speaking to somebody this week, and I said, "Hey, you need a Pro Wrestling Tee store." They're like, "Well, blah, blah, blah," and they going back and forth with me, and I said, "You need one," and they're like, "Why?" And I'm like, "I understand you don't mind carrying inventory. How many 5X shirts are you going to keep in inventory and travel around with?" They're like, "Oh, I usually keep like one, maybe, And I'm like, just give them the Pro Wrestling T-shirt. They're going to print the shirt. They're going to ship the shirt, everything for you. Because you know what you could do? Hey, little trick. PayPal. They can pay you, do everything right there, and then you just order the shirt for I mean, anyway, because I'm like, you can take their money right there.
They're long enough. They cover my gut. The WE shirts don't cover my gut anymore, folks. It's a horrible admission I'm making. The Pro Wrestling T-shirts are durable. I've got one on right now. 9 times out of 10, I'll have one on at any time.
Okay.
So,
but man, let's keep it rolling. Check them out, Pro Wrestling Tees. And before we get into the meat of it, man, let's do our last ever. I want to put jmartinandcompany.com. Check them out. All your pressure washing, window cleaning, gutters, roofs, all kinds of, commercial cleaning as well. Check them out, jmartinandcompany.com, and you can check them out on Facebook as well. Friends of the show, they did a great job at my house. They took care of my mother-in-law's house for me. They're great if I'm willing to send them to my mother-in-law's house. That's all I always tell people. If I'm willing to have my mother-in-law's house done with them, you got to trust them. So check them out, jmartinandcompany.com. Well, look, we addressed it earlier, Myron. We talked a little bit about the streaming stuff. But more rumors are coming out. I know I believe you sent this to me.
Yeah.
I checked it out, and I love that it was confirmed by the Observer.
That's getting tough, though, Nick. That's getting tough to quote the Observer because they're getting more full of shit than any of these wrestlers. I mean,
they're almost as full of shit as us. So, I mean, listen, and I keep saying we got to get that category on the show, that the half-ass internet research, where we just like spew shit out that we see on the internet.
Yeah, pick the bullshit story of the week.
No, we just take a whole bunch of news and we throw a disclaimer at the beginning of it and go, half-ass internet research. We're not saying it's accurate. We just saw it on the internet, so we thought you might enjoy hearing it and throwing it out there. But look, there's no official announcement from Warner Brothers Discovery. There's no official announcement, by the way, as of time of recording. Let's be very specific there. There's no, it hasn't been confirmed as of recording on Wednesday at 11:43.
11:43.
So. Yeah.
And
so
from what we've seen,
yeah.
But the Observer confirmed it.
But let's say it's true. We always have to say, let's say it's true. What model do we get? Do they go to the 12 pay-per-views? Do they give up the revenue? Think about that. What is Warner Brothers Discovery willing to pay? We had this whole conversation. I'm not doing the math again. Go back into, I believe it was last week's show. We did the math and we ran all the numbers, and it's some crazy number that they would have to pay to get all those pay-per-views, in our opinion. So
hey, they're 4 or 5 pay-per-views a year?
They run 4. They'll probably run more now. But the standard
$50. $50.
I can't even remember. The notes around here somewhere.
I paid $50 for that for the second all pay-per-view. In, out, I can't remember.
All Out was the second one.
All Out. I can't keep those straight. Sorry, folks. I have memory problems.
Yeah.
$50. This one I have no trouble at all remembering. $50 plus $12 in fees. $62. This is $19.99. I ordered a pizza from the place up the street. My friends are coming over to my apartment to watch a WWE pay-per-view. No. It's 2023.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So if they go to the model of what would Warner Brothers Discovery Max have to pay to get, let's say, 12 pay-per-views in a year? What's the pricing model? They've already mentioned, look, they're going to add the sports tier for like $10 a month. I mean, if I sign up for that, do I get the pay-per-views included? Who knows? Time will tell. My question would be, if you don't currently have Max, and you were to add the sports tier, I think you're in the $20 range, $25 range. I don't pay for Max. I get it with my cell phone, so I don't know. Forgive me.
Do you have to add it? Do you have to add more money to it? I mean, hell, I pay $500, nearly $600 a month for my cell phone plan. I've got a countless amount of people on it now.
Oh.
Plus my cable TV. I mean, my internet's on there. So it's like my bill is huge. Can I get the extra package?
You'd have to order it. I mean, it comes. They don't. From my understanding, the sports tier you're going to have to add no matter what you have.
Oh, suck my ass.
But anyway, would you at tappedoutpod? Tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know. Would you be willing to pay? Look, for 12 paper, I won't lie to you. By the way, I'd consider it for $10 a month if I get all 12. It's what we were paying for WWE pay-per-views. I mean, why not? So hopefully we'll get confirmation soon enough, and we'll find out. I think it's a good thing for wrestling fans in general.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
but
it's also
more material for those botch websites.
All right, we weren't going to discuss this, but we'll go ahead and dive into it. I do want to ask you, AEW Botches, it's a Twitter account. Look, Jon Moxley got dropped on his head last week on Dynamite or Collision, whatever the fuck show it happened on. They literally, there's so much wrestling now, I don't even half-ass remember what shows happened on what. So they dropped him on his head, and AEW Botches puts it out on Twitter like a slow motion video of him dropping him on his head. The only reason this even became an issue to me, and it's kind of like a nitpicking, issue. I thought when they said they started the company, like they weren't going to like go after accounts that were critical of them and things like that. So for them, essentially, they're like, oh, we didn't shut the account down. We filed copyright claims on all the video that they had, and it literally turned that Twitter feed into like a bunch of videos that were like copyright claim. So the guy had like a ton of posts with no content. And so I guess if Botchamania is like one of the fans' biggest things, where's the backlash on this, them closing this Twitter account down?
It's cast the first stone. Are they without sin? Why portray yourself as this, and then when you're challenged on it, you portray yourself as being without sin, but when you're finally challenged on it, when you look like dumbasses, you do what anybody else would have done, put a copyright violation. Sorry, folks, that's hypocritical. It's end of story. That's hypocritical.
Sorry, folks. Park's closed. Moose out front should have told you. I mean, the
con out front should have told you.
Yeah. Anyway, I was it's like look, there's not a lot of meat on that bone, but I just kind of thought it was a little. Look, there's a whole conversation just about the injury to Moxley and stuff, and I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole.
Plumber, as Cornette calls him.
I like Mox, I do, but anyway, like I said, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, look, we ran long. Before we get out of here, though, we would be remiss if we did not tell you again. Make sure you're signing up on YouTube.com. Get the show every week. The handle's Tapped Out Pod. That is right, at Tapped Out Pod. But look, the Patreon's back up and running. If you want to sign up over there, get the show early, get the audio, video, both go up there. All the articles are going there. All the paying members on YouTube and at Patreon get those articles, by the way. But look, everybody's not a video person. You should be. You should be subscribing. Apple Podcast, iHeartMedia, Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, you name it. If it's a podcast platform, we're there. That's right. I said it. We're there. But, hey, what are you going to do? Because, look, everybody's got a podcast now, right? If you're going to get a podcast, check it out over at Libsyn.com. Use the promo code TAPMYRON. They will give you up to 2 months of service for free.
Somebody's like the other day on Facebook, I want to start a podcast. What do I do? I said, well, the first thing you do is go to Libsyn.com, use promo code TAP. That way you've got your hosting. Then you go out and buy your equipment. Then you go get a mic and a webcam if you want to do this. You get a YouTube account if you want to do a video podcast. But that's something completely different. Get a mic and talk. That's all you need. You got a computer and a Libsyn account and a microphone, and you're good.
Somebody was like, do I need a soundboard and da-da-da? You could. I don't know why you would anymore. I'm like, look, if you're just recording it, webcam, USB mic, OBS, record it, you're done. And they're like, that's it? I'm like, that's it.
I mean, hell, we used Audacity for forever just for audio, and there's nothing wrong with that for audio.
Yeah, if you're not doing video, dude, go straight like something like Audacity. It's free. OBS is free, so do whatever.
I'll give you some advice. I can't promise it's good. It might be shitty internet research.
Yeah, half-ass internet research. Exactly. Yes. Look, that's all I've got this week, man. I got a ton of stuff to get done today. You got anything else before we get out of here?
Quickly, 2 weeks, we have got one of the biggest weeks in independent wrestling in Georgia. The 6th, we've got Still Here 5 for Southern Honor. The 7th, we've got Crossroads for Southern Pride Championship Wrestling. I encourage people to look into that or look into your local indie promotion wherever you are. See your stars of tomorrow today. Enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and it doesn't cost very much. Also, still trying to figure out football schedules and independent wrestling. That's going to be something I'm going to study as to why shows are always booked when there's a major college football game nearby. I don't understand that, and I might talk to people about that just out of curiosity. So that's my thought for the day. Don't do anything online that would embarrass yourself unless that's your goal or your gimmick like me. But take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Where'd I steal that from?
I can't remember, but
Stanley?
No, I don't think it was. It was probably well, not anyway. I can't remember the guy who used to do the radio. So somebody will fix this.
Oh, it was Jerry Springer.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's right. See, there you go. Well, man, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing, you've got nothing. What time is it?
It's time to tap out.